As I say, I had decided that this is what I needed to do, and when I told my parents, they were very much against it. They thought that I should be a priest. I shouldn't be I'd be wasting my life as a brother. That was their feeling, because I did very well in school. I was getting good grades and so forth, A's and occasional B's and so forth. They were very much against it. And we had the graduation that year, 1949, the first graduating class of St. Joseph High School. There were 4 of us, the 2 girls and another boy and myself. And for the occasion, the bishop came down from Lincoln, the Diocese of Lincoln. That's what the diocese we were in. And so he asked me what I was going to do. And I didn't want to tell him. But eventually I did. I had other signs that were given to me. I remember looking up during the graduation ceremony and saw, I don't know what you would call it, a little trail of dust illuminated by the light coming down, and that seemed to strike me as very significant. Well, in any case, the bishop asked me what I was going to do. I didn't want to tell him, but eventually I did, and he said, "You come and see me." And so my parents took me up to Lincoln to go see the bishop, and he was telling me, "Oh, who is that group out there?" He says, "They're a bunch of, they were kind of no account, and I shouldn't pay attention to them because, of course, he wanted me to be a diocesan priest." Well, at that time, I had already figured that God didn't want me to be a priest. He wanted me to be a Franciscan brother. So I didn't listen to the bishop. Then my dad and my pastor took me out to, at that time it was Crystal Lake, Illinois. At that time in Crystal Lake, Illinois, we had a high school seminary in which we had candidates for the order, but we also had other students who were not candidates, but they wanted to go to a Catholic school, a Catholic high school especially. There was that group of people at St. Mary's Seminary in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Well, Father Dominic, in the meantime, had gone to Poland, to a general chapter in Rome. At that general chapter, the chapter had decided to pursue the canonization, the beatification of Maximilian Kolbe. And so on the way back by ship, they traveled by ship, Father Dominic asked our provincial, Father Cyril Kita, if he could start a Mary town like Kobe had in Poland and in Japan. Father Cyril kind of came on board with that. And so he was allowed to take over a small house on the property of St. Mary Minor Seminary and to start Marytown there. And I don't recall, later he was given a small barn because St. Mary Minor Seminary was built on a former golf course, an 18-hole or 36-hole golf course. I think it was 36 holes at one time, and they sold half of it to our province. So the province took over half of that golf course. And there, on the property of that course was a small barn, which the golf course used for the machinery that of taking care of the golf course. And so Dominic was given that little small barn. Well, that's where my dad and my pastor brought me to visit and get acquainted with Father Dominic Szymański. So I was so convinced that was where I was going to stay. I had packed up almost all of my clothes and brought them with me. Well, my dad and my Monsignor were not going to let me stay. They just wanted to let me find out, see what it was. And they were casing the place themselves. And they had stopped actually in Rockford to check up on Dominic and see what kind of a reputation he had in the diocese. Well, I didn't know that, but that's what they were doing. And at that time, the bishop was Bishop Hoban, I think. He was a good friend of our provincial, Father Cyril Kita. I don't know what he told them, but at any rate, they decided that they were going to take me back home, which I didn't want to go. But Dominic basically said, yeah, I'll go with them, and we'll see. Well, when I got back home, I talked to my parents, and they said, well, you can go, but stay home for this summer, and then in the fall you can go out and join them. They were convinced I was making a big mistake, but they could see that I wasn't going to change my mind, so they basically said, well, we have to let you go because that's what you want to do.